watching the Tom Laipply podcast.
Right now, Rand Paul just told you, so don't say you haven't been warned, War Room Posse. So get ready for it, baby. They're going to come back here after Labor Day in the third week of September, in the run-up to the 30th of September. They're going to drop a 9,000-page omnibus for the entire year. And it's going to have every evil you want in there, and it'll be what chokes down growth. Why? Because it's all about federal spending. We need rescissions. We need pocket rescissions. We need impoundments. Keep cutting, and this thing will get to 3.4%. We'll get over 3.5%. We'll get to, wait for it, put a 4 handle on it, okay? Then the theory of the cases, and they all mocked us. You can't grow your way of it. Hey, you got, as I said, you got a shot. This is your last shot. Why not take your last shot? Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to have a shot. And the big, beautiful bill had a lot of, there was some ugly warts on it, right? We didn't love it all. But it gave you a shot for a supply side. And right there, Rand Paul told you. So you take your number 2 principle out. You've been warned. I told you this was going to happen. And Rand Paul said, hey, they're working on it right now. When they say bipartisan appropriations, that means Democrats and big government Republicans coming in with massive checks.
Would you be okay with Congress giving her immunity to testify? That's what she wants.
I haven't thought about it. I don't know the answer to that.
No position.
You're the first person who has asked me about it.
Okay, well, when you have a position, will you let us know?
You'll be the first.
Senator Bernie Sanders, we always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was. But let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider. But the president has his own exposure, so he's always projecting. He's always projecting. And let's not give him any more time on that, please. We're going forward here, and I'm very proud of my family. And while he might make fun of us, while somebody inspired by him breaks into our home and hits my husband in a deadly fashion, hits my husband over the head, and he thinks that's a riot, I'd rather not go into some of my other complaints about him right now, rather to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid.
Let's talk about Emile Beauvais, Senate confirming the president's former personal lawyer to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. 50-49, tight vote, but it did get through. And they tried to have all these whistleblower complaints, coming up against him. I know that you have praised this move. I just want to play a little bit of the Democrats who are having a meltdown over him.
This is a genuinely bad guy.
He was tragically, horribly confirmed this evening.
When you have somebody who wants to be a judge, who helps to fire people because they won't lie to a judge, you have a corruption of our justice system. It is a terrible nomination.
It's so interesting to watch them pile on. You think that they got their talking points together before they went on that gaslighting tour, Mike?
Well, let's do this. Dear Democrats, say it with me. Judge Emile Beauvais, or you can call him Your Honor for the rest of his life, and you're welcome from the Article 3 Project.
Is it your belief that the Durham Annex would show that FBI officials knew the Clinton campaign planned this all along?
Not only that, Sean, the Clinton Annex is going to show there was foreign intelligence. A foreign enemy had determined that the FBI had agreed to be the accelerant, that they were going to be conspirators joining with Hillary Clinton to give credence to her fake narrative. And that's exactly what happened. When people see what the foreign intelligence is and then how the FBI acted, it matches extremely closely. This is a bombshell Senator Grassley is going to release as early as tomorrow. I want to address Obama for a second. I know President Trump has every right to be frustrated with him. I think President Trump's analysis last week was right. I think my immunity rule might protect him on the original charges. That's what most legal experts tell me, that ruling is so sweeping it will protect Obama for what he did in office. However, Barack Obama can now be summoned before a grand jury. He cannot take the Fifth Amendment because he has immunity from prosecution. He'll have to tell the truth. If he lies as a private citizen about what he did as president, he'll no longer have that immunity. And that is a trap that Obama is sitting potentially facing. And I want to say the irony to that, because on January 5th, 2017, he presided over a meeting in the White House where the FBI had just cleared Mike Flynn of any wrongdoing, and they schemed in that meeting how they might be able to jam up Mike Flynn. And they came up with the idea, we'll lure him into an interview, catch him into a lie, and then prosecute him that way. Barack Obama now is about to face a potential similar situation as the one he created unfairly for Mike Flynn.
John, where do people go to get all your content? The 6 o'clock show, the Solomon Reports, Just the News, all of it, because this thing is heating up. And just a heads up to the guys over at DOJ, and I realize this gets back to, I'm so upset about not doing a recess appointments. They're struggling over there because of lack of manpower.
They are.
And they're fighting 200 cases against the president for his Article 2 powers. That being said, when the president is putting these memes up right now, guys, you should take that as a papal bull, okay? Somebody's got to get focused. Solomon saying, hey, Cash, you opened the grand conspiracy back in April. We're now in August, right? When Trump told those guys, hey, if you haven't cut a deal with me on August 1st, the tariffs are kicking in. When he says something, he means it. So somebody's got to get with the program over there, John, right?
Yeah. I agree. Listen, it is a manpower issue to some degree, but this is such a high priority. Pam is great at describing how bad it is. Now she just needs to put the resources in to create the accountability for that bad. She understands it. You got to shift some resources and just get this baby going. And you don't need you don't need a U.S. attorney to do it. You can get career people or people you trust. Go hire some special prosecutors. Get them in. Just get them going.
Mr. President, what is your message to critics who think your tariff plan will cause a recession?
I think they should go back to business school.
Right, Wednesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me see who is in the Rumble chat tonight. Scooter Magruder is on. General Plowman is on. Robin Aroni is on. Let me see here. Bob Corley is on. Judy Anita is on. JD Joy is on. Salty Gonads is on. Jules 21 Hours is on. Mike Griffith is on. Patty K44 is on. Scott Alata is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Skunk 71 is on. Neo Solo is on. Adam Lombardi is on. Sparky 8142 is on. Guitar Glenn is on. PD Frank is on. Christopher Arnott is on. Let me see here. 23 Justin Blake is on. Veronica 18201 is on. Granite 2468 is on. Those Jesus people is on. General Plowman is on. Sheila K is on. 50925 McDonald is on. Sexy Pony is on. Let me see here now. I am Mark is on. NCSC we is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Uncle Wally's on. Todd Suff is on. K4 VMS is on. Snodod is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Gloyd Shaw is on. Wait Away is on. Let me see. Scrolling down here. Hit just about. Leon Fish Puppy is on. Agravane is on. All right, hope everybody's doing good. As I said earlier, let's hop right into this. Just I found this video at the last minute. Just had to show you from Jan Jankulik. Just a really interesting video now. This stuff is starting to percolate. It is starting to come out about the collusion hoax and more about, and like Alex Jones said in his podcast today, everyone needs to stop calling it the collusion hoax. because really it is the coup of 2016 and 2017. I'll still call it collusion hoax probably because it's just indoctrinated in my mind. But really that's what it was a coup d'etat. Just a very interesting, little bit of a long video, 3 or 4 minutes long, but a Jan Jankulik video. And these people are starting to come out and they are starting to talk. Play for me.
So you were actually one of the people that assessed this intelligence community assessment from the side of DOD, as I understand it, that recently we've been hearing about, that Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, publicized recently.
Yeah, I think it's page 74, 75 of my first book, The Nation Will Follow. 2 days after the election in 2016, I was called up on the NSA phone. The person said I had to be on the intelligence community assessment that was assembling to finalize the Russia narrative because we were going to prove that Trump was a Russian asset and we were going to delay or block the inauguration of Donald J. Trump for the first term. I just couldn't believe it.
This is what you were told?
This is what I was told on the phone. So this was a deep state coup from the beginning, that it actually started in early 2016. We went through the process in November. The final product came out in the first few days of January 2017. But bottom line, the supposed top secret review, there was nothing there to show that Russia was trying to manipulate the campaign or the outcome of the election in the favor of Donald J. Trump, that the Trump campaign was somehow colluding with Russia. There was no evidence of anything. So when the document, the Intel Community Assessment, came back to the Department of Defense, because that's what happens in these reviews, the team members, the document, the final end product goes back to all the departments and agencies for review and finalization and approval. When it came back, my recommendation was non-concur. There was no evidence to support any of these assertions. And I was told, John, stand down. No, you don't need to complete the staffing. The secretary, which is Ash Carter, who's dead now, had already signed off because Comey and Brennan were personally hands on keyboard writing this assessment. You never have a director of CIA or a director of FBI personally writing the Intel Community Assessment. That was very brief.
It sounds, even with everything we know today, it sounds kind of nuts.
It was absolutely nuts. It was absolutely nuts, and it was some of the most outrageous things I'd ever said or heard in government service, uniformed or civilian. This was insanity. The voice on the other end, I know exactly who it was, and I put their name to the Durham investigation. John, we're going to finalize the Russia narrative, prove Donald J. Trump is a Russian asset, and delay or block the inauguration. It's never been done before in American history. This is insane. But it shows what was going on. And we were starting in early 2016. We were being fed information in interagency meetings from New York, from the Director of Counterintelligence, who was Charles McGonigal, who's now in prison, who was being paid by the Russians to spread the rumor inside the U.S. government that Trump was a Russian asset.
I just want to touch on that for 1 sec, since we're talking about it. It was Russian money that was funding the rumor that the candidate Trump was a Russian asset.
That is as insane as it sounds. Yes, the Russians were paying the FBI Director of Counterintelligence to spread the rumor it was the Russians that were interested in Trump, were trying to influence the election, and that there was a form of collusion going on between the Trump campaign and Russia. Shows the bizarre nature of the Soviet era psyche still permeating through the Russian.
See, now these are not shadowy things that happen. These are not things that have plausible deniability that happen. These are not things that can be disguised that happen. This is absolutely outright coup d'etat. There is no way to phrase this in a different way. There's no way to verbalize this in a different way. There is now no way to hide this in any way, shape, or form. You're talking about a retired colonel out of the armed forces working in the NSA at that time. I mean, you're talking about Colonel John Mills now has come out basically as a whistleblower. There's no way. I don't know how to verbalize this any better. I wish I had a better vocabulary right now, but there is now no way to phrase this in any other way but a seditious conspiracy, flat out sedition, or even treason. That's what was going on here. They weren't there. There's no hiding this. There is no way for them to plausibly deny this. There is no way for them to disguise this. Comey, Clapper, Brennan, those are really the people that are prosecutable, although Obama is very prosecutable too, under what John Solomon was talking about in the pregame, where he now needs to be subpoenaed. And if he doesn't obey the subpoena because he is covered by his presidential immunity that really Trump got him, that had to be done, by the way, that really just had to be etched in stone in law so that all the lawfare would stop, which, by the way, has been going on for hundreds of years in the United States of America, where presidents really cannot be tried for anything that they did while president. Otherwise, no president could actually perform the duties of a president because they would be sued or prosecuted right after leaving office. So Trump just basically etched it in stone via the SCOTUS that even Obama, Clinton, everybody else has immunity. But that has nothing to do with Biden. That has nothing to do with Clapper or Comey or Brennan or Susan Rice or numerous others that are involved in this coup d'etat, this Russian collusion hoax that now is out in the open. It is all written. It's all etched in stone. There's no hiding. Now, what they need to do is subpoena Obama. Because of Obama's presidential immunity, he can't claim the fifth, just like Hunter Biden can't claim the fifth. Once you are under a pardon, even a preemptive, ridiculous, unconstitutional pardon, you cannot claim the fifth. So they have to testify. They are actually compelled to testify. If they don't, then they are actually then violating the law. So then they can be tried for that, even if they're under a presidential pardon. That has nothing. That right there would remove, because what is Obama protected from? The 8 years of him being president. That's it. That's it. Now, you can also say that Obama's not protected because he's continued with this conspiracy even after being president. But even a more clean way to get to Obama would be to compel him to testify. He has to testify under oath. And if he lies, he's now committing perjury, felony perjury at that, after being president, so he would not be covered by presidential immunity. But listen to what John Mills is saying here. This is a high-ranking member of the NSA. I mean, you don't, I mean, again, this is what movies are made of, the NSA, CIA, all of this. National Security Administration. He was told, he was contacted that he had to be part of the ICA intelligence community assessment, that he had to be on the ICA to show Trump was a Russian agent to stop the inauguration. So they call him up and say, hey, John, you need to be part of this ICA because we are going to stop Trump from being inaugurated. Everybody know this till now? Did anybody ever hear this verbiage till now? I haven't. I've never heard this, and there wasn't anybody following the Russian collusion hoax via Dan Bongino than I was, because Dan Bongino's chronicling this thing second by second in excellent fashion and covering 2 books. But mainly, I didn't read his 2 books, but I was listening to to his podcast every day. So it was being chronicled. By the way, you don't even need any of this. It's out in the open anyway. It's clear. It's absolutely clear that you have a seditious conspiracy going on, even without the new stuff that's coming out. Even without the new Tulsi Gabbard revelations, it was very prosecutable before that. But now with all of this, there is absolutely no way for anybody to deny any of this at all. That's why you're seeing Brennan on every talking head show, every chance he can get right now, belittling everybody in sight. Clapper's even come out of his own coffin and doing the exact same thing. Even Obama's had to address it. Obama never addresses anything. So John Mills is actually contacted. He's contacted. He didn't say by who necessarily, but he was contacted, said, you know what, you need to be on this ICA, because it's just like when they circulated to all of those members of the CIA, it was that Hunter Biden's laptop had earmarks of Russian intelligence. They needed as many people on it as possible so they could come out and say 51 former intel chiefs. They didn't want a high-ranking member of the NSA, a retired colonel from the military, not part of this ICA. So they were like, you know, we need to have this guy part of it. But the only problem was he'd already looked at all the intel, and there was not one thing that would show that Trump colluded with Russia. The reason why there's not one thing that shows that Donald Trump colluded with Russia is that it was whole cloth made up by Hillary Clinton and Mark Elias. And they knew that because Comey, Brennan, and Clapper, and Obama, and Biden all met in July of 2016. It's before all the ICA stuff, and went over it and said, this is being made up by Hillary Clinton. And you'd think at that time, say, well, you know what, let her do what she wants to do. You know, the right thing to do would be for one of them to go to her and say, hey, listen, you need to stop this lying. But they, of course, don't have the integrity and human dignity to do that. So they just ignored it. They didn't ignore it. I mean, remember, at that time, Obama had given almost $1 million to the same law firm, Perkins Coie, that employs Mark Elias, that was making up the Russian collusion narrative and hoax. So Obama was a part of it even at that time. So what they should have said was, you know what? We need to go tell her to stop. This is lying. This is seditious conspiracy. This is the possible future president of the United States, because this is, 6 months before the election, whatever. But they didn't do any of that. They launched an investigation based on what they knew was a lie. So you're not even launching an investigation. That's not even the right terminology. What you are doing is propagating a lie. You're not investigating a lie. You're propagating a lie using the FBI to do so, using the DOJ to do so, using our intelligence agencies to do so, to propagate a lie made up by your political ally to defeat your political adversary. That's how disgusting these people are. And it doesn't matter whether they're disgusting, repulsive, disingenuous, liars, dishonest people. It doesn't matter any of those things. What matters is, did they commit crimes? This now proves that they did. Everything proves that they did. We could go over line by line. Aaron actually sent me a great graph of this, shows every aspect of this collusion hoax, but I can't put it on the podcast because it's so huge. You can't, it's just too big to put on there. I'd like to blow it up though and actually have it in my office because it's really, really good. Problem is, so they say to John Mills, you need to be on this ICA. You need to be on it because it'll give it some credibility is what they're thinking. But the problem is, he already looked at the intel and he said, there's nothing here that shows that there's any Russian collusion between Donald Trump and there's any collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. You know why? Because they already knew there was no collusion, because they knew it was made up by Mark Elias and Hillary Clinton. They already knew that, but they pressed on anyway. Mills' conclusion did not concur. This is official. This is his official response to their request for him to be on the ICA. Is he said, my conclusion does not concur with yours. Well, of course it doesn't, because his conclusion was the truth, that there was no collusion, because the collusion was made up by Mark Elias and Hillary Clinton, which Brennan knew, which Comey knew, which Biden knew, which Obama knew. But yet they used the DOJ and intel agencies to propagate a myth. So Comey and Clapper, now this is the first I've heard of this, according to John Mills, were personally writing the ICA. So you had, this is an ICA, Intelligence Community Assessment, is a lower staff written item. This is what you delegate to lower staffs. Never in the history of America have you had the head of the FBI and the director of the CIA writing an ICA? I mean, that would be akin to the CEO of a company writing a quarterly interest report or a quarterly profit report. They don't do that. It's not belittling or anything else. It's just not in your lane. Comey and Clapper are personally writing an ICA. ICAs are again, intelligence community assessments are done all the time by lower end staffers. By that, I don't mean people who are, that are janitors or something. It's done by agents and by intel officers, not done by the directors. This is being personally written by Comey and Clapper with the facade of 5 people put together by who? James Clapper had put together a 5-person ICA, which, by the way, it's never done. How many people are involved in ICAs? 50, 60, 100, hundreds write these ICAs. Clapper put together 5 people, but the people that were actually writing it were Comey and Brennan themselves. And then you have the McGonigal end of it, which I've covered on the podcast, but not at great detail. Charles McGonigal, and you had, of course, Ash Carter involved in this now, who's dead. That's strange. And then Charles McGonigal is now in federal prison. I don't remember whether he was seditious conspiracy or treason or what he was tried and found guilty of. But again, Charles McGonigal, high-ranking FBI official, was being paid by the Russians to say that the Russians were colluding with Donald Trump. Then he's now in federal prison over it. That's exactly what happened. That's why I always tell you, the Nazis will gladly call you a Nazi to defeat you. A Nazi or a communist will gladly call you a communist to politically defeat you. So you had Charles McGonigal on the payroll of the Russians to spread the rumor that Donald Trump was colluding with Russians. And then all these idiots like Comey, and by the way, they're not idiots, they're seditious conspiracists. That's who they are. They are actually committing a seditious conspiracy here. They are committing the active act of sedition. They're not stupid. I mean, you could call them stupid, but they're not ignorant. They know exactly what they're doing. This is all now coming out. These people need to spend the rest of their life in federal prison, including Barack Hussein Obama. And if we don't do it, Donald Trump's going to be impeached after he leaves the presidency. His entire staff, you'll see Flynn back in prison. You'll see Alex Jones bankrupted again. They'll bring in another pandemic to close the churches, and all conservative punditry, all conservative platforms shut down because we're spreading misinformation again. All around the world right now, you have a banning of speech going on. And that, like, Donald Trump just basically refused to do business with the UK until at least they put on the veneer of allowing speech again. I mean, it's all on the line. These people have to go to prison, not because of retribution, but because of justice. They have committed crimes. And then on the other side of it, if you don't put them in prison, you license them to continue, the next generation, to do it over and over and over again. You will have the next Brett Kavanaugh situation. The next Matt Gaetz situation, all these false sexual assertions over and over and over again. Christine Blasey Ford situation, E. Jean Carroll situation, Anita Hill situation, over and over and over again. Same tactics over and over again, because none of the people that commit these crimes or commit these defamations are ever made to pay for the crimes and the civil offenses that they've committed. Anita Hill, no problem at all, probably became a multimillionaire. Christine Blasey Ford, we know at least made $600,000. E. Jean Carroll allegedly has made $300 million. She'll never get it, but she likes to pretend that she will. All right, let's hop off of this. I could talk about it all night. Let's get to Zohran Mamdani, shall we? You can just side by side it for all those, just to make sure that everybody knows who I'm talking about, and everybody watching this podcast does. This is the leading mayoral candidate, not just the Democratic leading mayoral candidate. This is the polling leader in New York to become the next Sadiq Khan. Anybody look at London lately? Stabbing capital of the planet, because they don't have any guns, but they're the stabbing capital of the world, because they've just allowed in thousands upon thousands of Muslims, have Muslim police force, Muslim districts where cops aren't even allowed in. Basically, Sharia law ruling over vast segments of both London and the UK. If you want that in America, here's your Americanized Sadiq Khan right here, and his name is Zohran Mamdani. Hard to say it. Zohran Mamdani, that's his name. So anyway, he's disappeared, basically, because he's been in Uganda for the last 3 days. Funny how that always works, isn't it? You know, you had Karen Bass gone when Pacific Palisades burned to the freaking ground, 12,000 homes burned to the ground. And Aaron, how many homes have been rebuilt so far?
0.
0, there we go. Just checking. Okay, just want to make sure. Hey, have you checked into Maui? How many of those have been rebuilt?
Let me see, hang on.
Type it up.
Let's see.
Maui?
None.
None. Okay, got it. Okay, I mean, just want to make sure everybody knows that's what's happening. They raised $141 million to rebuild those 12,000 homes. Aaron, can you check and see how much of that money has gone to the victims of the Palisades fire?
Yeah, that would be zero.
Zero. Okay, I'm just making sure. I just want to make sure. Oh, an Epstein flight log?
Nope.
Not released. Okay, I just want to make sure. Anyway, just want to make sure we get the headlines out. But anyway, so here's the leading candidate for mayor in New York City. The next Sadiq Khan too. Devout Muslim, spent the last several days in Uganda hiding out while he celebrated his anniversary at his multi-million-dollar Ugandan mansion. But he's a socialist. Aaron, he's a socialist.
Yeah, of course.
Aaron, does that make sense to you?
No.
Okay. Will, does that make sense to you? Because somebody help me make sense to me. Will, you've got a lot of experience in life. Aaron, you do too.
Yeah.
You're both fathers and successful men. Somebody help me understand how you're a socialist, but you have a multi-million-dollar Ugandan mansion behind a wall, behind armed security. But you want no guns, no walls, and no capitalism. Okay. But anyway, so finally he's come back after the New York City jihadist shooting that isn't how it's turned out to be. People said, it's about the NFL, whatever. No, it's a jihadist shooting, another one, by somebody yelling Free Palestine while he's shooting people. That's weird. And shoots a Muslim while he does it. But that Muslim on Muslim crime is basically the same as black on black crime. Number one threat to a Muslim is another Muslim, certainly not a Christian. But anyway, so here, let's go over Zohran Mamdani for a while here. Make Europe Great Again video. Just in, Mamdani resurfaces in NYC after hiding out in Uganda for days following the Manhattan shooting. This is the same guy who smeared NYPD as racist, mocked officers, pushed to defund them, and now he wants to act like he cares. Play it for me.
Over the course of this race, I've been very clear about my view of public safety and the critical role that police have in creating that. Public safety that officers are tasked with delivering while we ask them to respond to nearly every failure of the social safety net. And the vision that we've put forward in this campaign, despite what others may say, is not to defund the police. It is, in fact, to allow those officers to respond to the serious crimes that many of them signed up to address, and to do so by ensuring that we ask them to focus on those crimes, and we ask mental health professionals to respond to calls of mental health crises.
All right, Aaron, do a deep dive research. How many police calls has Zohran Mamdani ever responded to? Can you type that up?
Let's see. No,
zero.
none.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
none.
I just want to get his expertise down because he has absolutely zero. Let me just go back to front on this. So what he's doing there, because he's point blank asked, which is the next video. He's point blank asked, do you still believe in defunding the police? Because it was I'm trying to find the it was their rapid response team that, by the way, he's publicly called to defund, that actually came and extinguished the shooter or contained the shooter. I think he shot himself. But anyway, so this is a guy who's publicly called for defunding the police. Now, I want to show you his little narrative twist there because he's asked, do you still want to defund the police? And he says, no, what I want is for the police to respond to the things that they want to respond to. Okay. Let me just explain something. 25 years in the bag, right here. That's what you call it in the police world, call it in the bag. 25 years pushing a police car around. And what he's saying is that not have cops go to calls where it should be a social worker. That's what he's saying right there. He just said it. Not the calls where a social worker is more applicable. How do you know until you get there? So if you dispatch something that the 9/11 operator thinks is a social worker response, and you get there and this person who requires a social worker is sitting there with a 9mm in their mouth, what does the social worker do then? Then call the cops. So you've now quadrupled the response time to a suicide call.
Yeah.
This is the idiocy of these people. And by the way, basically every call a cop goes to, it's only a cop that can handle it. Oh, how would you know, Tom? Just 25 freaking years of doing it in a row. 1992 to 2017. 25 years and 1 day. August 13th of 1992 to August 14th of 2017. I know. Every single call a cop goes to, it's really a cop that needs to be there. But what Zohran wants to do is cut NYPD's budget in half and then give the rest to social services that never work, that are always underfunded and always never perform. Don't underperform. Don't perform at all, because he's a typical socialist Democrat. But if it's him that needs the police, which, by the way, he's very happy, because guess what he has right now is the leading mayoral candidate for New York City, a police detail. Aaron, why hasn't he turned it down? Will, why hasn't he turned it down? I mean, he hates the police.
Yeah,
He said to fund the police,
right?
But he doesn't turn down his own police detail. That reminds me of the Minneapolis St. Paul post George Floyd fentanyl overdose protest that they had against the police, where they were protesting defund the Minneapolis Police Department, but they hired the Minneapolis Police Department for security for their event. That's who these people are. Absolute, outrageous hypocrites. So here's Zohran Mamdani's response to a social media post. So someone puts out, I just saw a cop, so you had the cop that was killed during the shooting, and this person just put out an observation post on some social media platform. I just saw a cop crying. This, by the way, is absolutely viral. Crying in car, laugh my bleep off. So laughing at him. And what is Mamdani's response? Nature is healing. So he's now there. What he should say is, why are you laughing at a tragedy? Why are you laughing at a human response to a tragedy? No, he put out nature is healing. That's who. I mean, you need to understand. It's not a matter of I don't agree with the person politically, which I certainly don't. These are disgusting human beings. Zohran Mamdani is a disgusting, repulsive Muslim human being. That's who he is, and an outright hypocrite. All right, let's go to the next one. Vigilant Fox video. Wow, defund the police poster boy Zohran Mamdani just thanked the NYPD after NYC shooting. Play it for me.
And in this moment of mourning and of grief, I want to thank law enforcement for their response to the horrific shooting on Monday and their work in keeping New Yorkers safe. I ask that in this moment, we come together as New Yorkers and we remember the 4 of our neighbors that were killed. We honor their memories and we live up to the way in which they led their lives.
You see these people, I think Aaron just said it. Aaron, did you call him a poser?
Yeah.
They are. He's posing in acting magnanimous. He's trying to act like RFK or JFK. He's putting on a show. That's not his true personality. Remember, this is a guy who's been caught with several different accents now. Sometimes he's super Indian. Sometimes he's super American, whatever it may be. You know, sometimes he talks like this. That's how he talks. And then suddenly now, he's basically trying to be a Kennedy, acting magnanimous. Again, just like a posing, weak, lukewarm art church pastor. Just like that. I mean, it's not their real voice. It's not their real personality. So you can tell that it's contrived, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Look at him. So he's sitting there. I want to thank NYPD and their great response. Look at what he put on the bottom. That's his own social media post. No, we want to defund the police. I mean, how can you be like this? If I was a defund the police guy, I'd be up there saying, listen, I still want to defund the police, but I appreciate their response to the shooting. That's actually being magnanimous. Acting like you are for the police when you put out one nasty defund the police social media post after another is truly a contrived illusion. It's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable they can even live like this. And I know this is redundant for those of you that watch this podcast all the time, but I don't understand it. I have no comprehension of it. How you get up in the morning. I believe he's married. I know he's married. I don't know if he has kids or not. But how do you get up in the morning and just, you know that you lie for a living. You know that you hypocrite for a living. And yet everybody has respect for you in the house? I mean, how does that even work? Do you guys know? I don't know. How that Will doesn't understand. I don't understand how that works. I understand having differences with people. I mean, Aaron's one of my closest friends. We don't agree on everything. Will and I don't agree on everything. My wife and I don't agree. I get that. But being a repulsive, disgusting liar who knows that you're going out today and you're going to lie all day, every day, 24/7, 365, you're going to lie like Jake Tapper. You know you're lying. You know you're lying the entire time, every day, and you get up and have coffee with the wife and look her in the eye? How is that? And you both know it. Your wife's looking at you going, I know you're a liar. And you're going, I know my wife knows I'm a liar. And somehow you're like, somehow copacetic, and you sleep next to a person like that? You're going to end up as a Netflix episode and a docuseries. How it all went wrong, volume 8. But there he is, just bold-faced. I just want to thank the police when he posts things like this. Let's go to the next one. Ted Cruz video. Mamdani is asked point blank if he wishes to defund the police. Play it for me.
LGBTQ, or that they should be defunded or dismantled. So this is a little bit of what Marsha asked, but as you've grown and reflected, and I feel, in fairness to you, you've been good about talking about growing and reflecting and always having conversations. Do you wish you hadn't said some of those things a few years back?
My statements in 2020 were ones made amidst a frustration that many New Yorkers held at the murder of George Floyd and the inability to deliver on what Eric Adams, of all people, described as the right for all of us to be able to enjoy safety and justice, that we need not choose between the two.
This is a man who naturally talks like this, and he's trying to sound magnanimous. He's trying to actually, my thoughts back in 2020 were in response to the murder of George Floyd. He really talks like this. That's how he really talks. Tommy, it doesn't mean that I think less of people of Indian descent. I don't. But this is how you normally talk. That's how he normally talks. That's how he talked until he changed. Or maybe this is his real voice and he used the Indian voice to gain some sort of political platform. I don't know. But you can tell it's all just contrived. My thoughts back in 2020 were in response to the murder of George Floyd. How was he murdered, by the way? Again, these people, they operate in no facts whatsoever. George Floyd was not murdered. How was he murdered then? I would sit down with Zohran Mamdani and ask him, how exactly was George Floyd murdered? He would say, because, again, all of us, right? I don't mean to be redundant, but I do mean to be redundant because I'm doing it. But I'm just saying, how was he? I would just point by point, Zohran, explain to me how he was murdered. Well, Derek Chauvin asphyxiated him to death by putting his knee on his neck. Okay, he didn't die of asphyxiation. So how was he murdered then, Zohran? Oh, I just believe that he was. How was he murdered then, Zohran? It's impossible. George Floyd had 95% oxygenation at the moment of death. He had a 95% oxygenation rate. That is completely within the realm of normality. So he was not asphyxiated. He didn't even have a bruise on his neck. You can't asphyxiate somebody without bruising them. Believe me, it's just the way that it is. And you can't asphyxiate somebody with your knee on the back of their neck. Both your air pipes and your arteries are here. So Zohran, how was he murdered? Any Democrat, how was he murdered? Just explain to me biologically. Explain to me anatomically how exactly he was murdered. You can't. Just like you can't tell me that a human being in the womb's not a human. Biologically, you can't. Factually, you can't. Let's go to the next one for me. So here we go. I can spend all night on that. If I start talking about Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, show's over. It's already 9:43. Show's definitively over.
Yeah.
So Zohran, of course, Aaron, Kwame, I think I'll just call him that for now on. Kwame Mamdani. We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist. Oh, the pro NYPD suddenly, anti-queer, which you should be, and a major threat to public. Oh, the NYPD is a major threat to public safety. Aaron, who was it that responded to the shooting?
NYPD.
But they're a threat to public safety.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Again, Will, help me make Aaron. Somebody make that make sense to me. How exactly? Now, who would Mamdani call? I get the N and the M mixed up every time. Mamdani. Who would Zohran call? It's easier. Who would Zohran call right now if he was being robbed? The threat to his own public safety?
Yes.
Social worker. You see? Yeah. Oh, Will, that's perfect, Will. That's perfect, Will. Yeah. Oh, I'm being robbed at gunpoint. Can you send me a psychologist, please? I want to start recovering right now so I don't get PTSD. Can you send me a social worker, please? I mean, I might get shot in the head, so they won't help me at all after I'm dead, but can you send me a social worker, please? This is the guy who says now that he's supporting the NYPD, which of course he doesn't. All right, go to the next one for me. So here's more on him. Here's more from Zohran. Today, the NYPD deployed the Strategic Response Group. Notice the date on the bottom. This is 6 to 7 months ago. The SRG, the Strategic Response Group, to harass and arrest striking Amazon workers. To harass. As mayor, I will disband the RSG, which has cost taxpayers money. Aaron, let's see now. Who responded to the shooting specifically? That would be the Strategic Response Group. Oh, and he wanted them disbanded. Oh, okay. 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 Which has cost taxpayers millions in lawsuit settlements and brutalized countless New Yorkers exercising their First Amendment rights to loot Nike stores and Apple stores. Because that's who they came to deal with, were the people that were looting the stores under the name of an Amazon protest. But he wanted to disband them. Go to the next one for me. But here's the problem. Zohran from the New York Post. Zohran Mamdani is planning to axe the elite NYPD task force that responded to the actual New York City shooting. That you want Sadiq Khan. Here he is. They even look kind of similar. You put a good beard on Sadiq, they're twins. You want to put a socialist Muslim, which by the way, he's just hiding behind because Muslims aren't socialists. They're monarchies. And his family's incredibly rich. So what he wants is to enrich his own monarchy, so to speak, and then make everybody an impoverished peasant all around him paying homage to him. That's who this guy actually is. His little contrived, trying to sound like JFK speeches aren't going to work anywhere but, sadly, in New York City, because he is the leading mayor. Oh, that's good, Aaron. Here you go. I'm telling you, put them on side by side. They're twins. Twinsies!
Papa.
Right there. Oh, yeah, papas. There it is. There's Sadiq Khan and bearded Sadiq Khan. If you want London in the United States of America, because, by the way, the only problem with this is you might be thinking, leave this up. You might be thinking, well, thank God, I don't live in New York City, and I never will. You might be thinking that, and that's the same thing I think. But the only problem is it started in London and spread all over the UK now, where basically like 6% of their population is controlling really their country. Where you're not allowed to say Muslim rapist or you'll be arrested. You could have your own 14-year-old daughter gang raped by a group of Pakistanis, and if you say on social media, my 14-year-old daughter was gang raped by a pack of Pakistanis, by a bunch of low IQ, inbred Pakistanis. If you put that out there, and I'm making it worse than what most people would put. If you just put it in a non-Tom Laipply kind of way, and you just said, you know what, a bunch of Pakistanis gang raped my daughter, you will go and spend 4 years in prison while her rapist will get 6 months deferred sentence. That's a fact, by the way. You can pull that up anywhere. Follow Tommy Robinson. It's an absolute freaking fact. That's how it is in the UK. It starts in London. It starts in NYC, and it spreads to all these liberal cities. And that's exactly what will happen. If we want Sadiq Khan too, then Zohran Mamdani will, if he gets elected, we get Sadiq. We get Sadiq Khan too. Hard to get out these Muslim names. All right, let's go to the next one. Western Lensman video. Kami Mamdani calls for a nationwide ban of assault rifles. Of course. Play it for me.
And as New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and Americans across the country mourn this mass shooting, we are reminded that no matter how strong our gun laws are in this state, we are only as safe as the weakest laws in this nation. And so in this moment, the onus is on all of us to follow the words of Alan's brother and to put forward a vision of stronger gun laws. And I echo the call from Governor Hochul for a nationwide ban on assault rifles.
Do you know how you know that you're not authentic? Is when you're trying to sound authentic.
True.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
You want authenticity, you watch me preach on Sunday. There's no holds barred. Like me or don't like me, That is authentic. That's who I am. That's it. I mean, listen, it doesn't mean I'm not fault-ridden. I'm just telling you that I'm authentic, and probably you are too if you're watching this podcast. Yeah. So anyway, Aaron, side by side that one, would you? So here we go. Now, Mamdani, Zohran, says he wants a nationwide ban on assault rifles. That's his birthday over the weekend. That's his birthday. Right there over the weekend. Aaron, blow that up as big as you possibly can. This and focus on, of course, the red circle as big as you can blow it up, just to make sure everybody can see exactly what I'm showing. Okay, that's his birthday. 2 armed security guards with AK-47s guarding, what are they guarding? His anniversary celebration at his Ugandan mansion. But he wants a assault rifle ban here while he's guarded by them there. These are who these leftists are. That's who they are. They are repulsive, hypocritical, disgusting human beings. That's who they are. I want a nationwide assault rifle ban while I'm guarded by them. And not only is he guarded by them in Uganda, where this picture was taken this weekend, but he's also currently guarded by them by the police agency, the NYPD, that he despises and wants to defund. But I'll bet you he never actually defunds his own protection detail. Even if he becomes mayor, I'll bet you he's always surrounded by the cops that he wants to defund. All right, let's go to the next one. Sam E. Antar tweet. So Zohran Mamdani called ICE agents en masse militarized oppression. Then flew to Uganda for his own wedding bash, guarded by masked riflemen.
Oh my God.
So ICE agents in the United States arresting illegal alien pedophiles and have been forced to wear masks by Zohran's leftist activists because they were being doxxed on social media. Those masked ICE agents are militarized oppression, but not the masked riflemen at his own Ugandan military mansion compound.
Yes.
Guarded by masked riflemen, military tents, and a phone jamming system.
Oh my gosh.
All at his millionaire family's compound. ICE for thee, private militia for me. I love great writing by Sam Antar. There you go. You saw the pics already. So anyway, let's go to the next one. Spitfire video. That'll show you here. Aaron, side by side. This is one of the dumbest human beings on the planet.
True.
This is the current mayor. This is why Mamdani is actually a conceivable candidate. Notice Fat Twinkies is right there. Look at Fat Twinkies. Can you blow his fat image up? I hate to keep doing this to you, but it's just fun. Try to get Twinkies. There, look at there. There he is. Bum bum bana. Bum bum bana bana bum 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 bana. There he is. There he is. There's Twinkies. Alvin Bragg right there. Alvin has not knocked off the Twinkies. He's put on 50 since the last picture I've shown him. He must be eating with Big Tish. They must be going to the exact same restaurants every single night. I came this close to putting on this video. I may still put it on. But you know what? A lot of you are going to laugh when I say this because it's worth laughing at. I try to be nice. Aaron just laughed.
Yeah.
I tried to be. It was these 2 fat women that went and chronicled their Disney vacation.
Oh, I love that video.
Did you see that video?
I love that video.
All right, see if you can find
I'm going to try to find it. Yeah.
I'm going to play it. And all they did was eat. First of all, we went and got a bacon-wrapped something. And then we went and got an icy. And then after that, we went and got some ice cream. And then after that, we got lunch. And then after that, we got more ice cream. I'm telling you, it was just like this. I'm not exaggerating. But anyway, I just had to show you Twinkies. So anyway, Spitfire video. Here's the dumbest human being on the planet, Eric Adams, now responding in the typical Democrat way because he's trying to be reelected. So he's got to call for assault rifle bans, got to call for stricter gun laws. How much stricter can they be than in New York City? Does everybody remember Plaxico Burress, the star wide receiver from the New York Giants, who got arrested in NYC, spent 3 years in prison for doing what? Shooting himself in the leg by accident. How much stricter can the laws be that if you accidentally shoot yourself with your own gun, that you spend 3 years in prison? Everybody remember that? I mean, how much stricter can you be? And by the way, if they didn't have these strict gun laws, the shooter, a radical Islamist, anything but a white guy. By the way, the combination has now come out that he's a combination of Japanese and black. That's his actual heritage, was black and Japanese. So all of CNN, possibly white, possibly a white shooter. Their propagandist lies that they put out on the day of the shooting have now been extremely exposed. But anyway, so here's Adams. Adams calls for tougher gun laws after mass shooting. Play for me.
We cannot respond to senseless gun laws through vigils. It must be responded through legislation. It is time to turn the corner of a society where automatic weapons are as easy to get as a cell phone.
Okay, now let's break down simply. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but let's just break down what he said there. Nobody can get an automatic rifle. These people have no idea what they're. How does Eric Adams, a career law enforcement officer, have no idea what the difference is between a semi-automatic and an automatic weapon? How is that? Everybody in this room, there's three of us right here. Now, none of us have the experience that Will does as warfighter, but all of us are gun owners in this room, and all of us know the difference between an automatic rifle and a semi-automatic rifle. Yeah. Everybody knows. I mean, very, very simple, Eric. If you press the trigger one time and a whole bunch of bullets come out, that's automatic. If you have to hit the trigger every time you want a single bullet to come out, that's semi-automatic. And he still doesn't know, as a 60-something-year-old retired cop who's running for mayor to be reelected as mayor of New York City. Over and over and over again, we hear statements from Democrats. That's a fully semi-automatic pistol. What? What's fully semi-automatic mean? They have no idea what they're talking about. And just to be redundant for a second, how much more strict can your gun laws be? Nobody's allowed to have one. The guy drove from Nevada, parked in New York City, had bulletproof vest and hundreds of rounds of ammo, walked into one of your buildings and shot the place up. How much more strict can your gun laws be? And he would have gone down a whole lot sooner. Imagine how fast you've been shot and killed right here at Foundation Church, because Will's armed right now. Aaron's armed right now. He'd be dead in 2 seconds. We had a guy sneak in the building. Will couldn't have got up any faster and confronted the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, literally like my dog got it out there. Okay, and if he messes with Will, he's dead. He's a dead man. It never would have gone fast. It never would have gone past the hallway. If New York City was like Northport, Florida, that guy never enters the building. He's walking down the street with a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, in his hand. And nobody does anything. Nobody has any guns. And all you see are people running out of the building. If it was Northport, Florida, you see a bunch of rednecks like us with our guns pointed at them and gunning them down. Gun control doesn't work. Arm your citizenry and you'll have no gun crime. That's proven over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's looking into Zohran Mamdani's hypocrisy. Townhall.com video. New. Zohran attended a lavish 3-day party at his family's private estate. Play it for me.
Well, isn't this rich? New York City mayoral frontrunner Zohran Mamdani announced last week that he was traveling to Uganda in a, quote, personal capacity.
I'm going back to Uganda. I'm headed there in a personal capacity to celebrate Rama and I's marriage with our family and friends. But I do want to apologize to the haters, because I will be coming back.
Well, according to reports, that celebration was a lavish 3-day party at his family's private estate outside Uganda's capital. The neighborhood is home to some of Uganda's richest citizens. The party was reportedly equipped with around 20 Special Force Command unit guards, some of whom were wearing masks. And one source telling the New York Post that several armed guards were stationed at one gate. Another source went on to tell the Post that the family had a cell phone jamming system on site. Reports say the party ended around midnight, with expensive cars seen taking partygoers to and from the lavish event. Talk about champagne socialism.
Champagne socialism. Will, let's go right to the next one. Daily Caller video, because it's basically the same thing with a few more facts. Mamdani's lavish wedding in Uganda is peak socialism. Play for me.
This is just the greatest proof yet that Zohran Mamdani, as played out as the term might be,
is a champagne socialist. He calls for defunding the police while having 20 armed security guards at his wedding. He wants to abolish private property despite his parents having this luxury estate in Uganda. And he's also said that he won't travel to Israel for human rights concern, and has openly protested North Carolina's bathroom bill while having this wedding in a country that has one of the worst human rights records for LGBTQ people.
So again, he wants to abolish the NYPD, and he has 20 Special Forces commandos on site at his anniversary celebration at his Ugandan mansion. And another tenet of his socialism is that he wants to get rid of all private property. I never understand why any of these socialists, like Three House Bernie, Private Jet Flying Bernie, who's also a socialist, why don't they lead the way? Why are they not giving up their private property? If you believe in state-owned property, you'll own nothing, be happy. Why don't you lead the way? I don't understand it. If you want to pay more taxes, you can donate to the federal government right now. And you always have been able to do so. But none of them ever actually do it. All these people that say tax the rich, tax the rich should give their fair share. People like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, AOC, and all the rest of the multimillionaires on Capitol Hill give very little of their money in taxation and follow the most strict of all tax laws that limit the amount that they actually have to give to the IRS. If you really believe in the rich should give their fair share, then why aren't you giving your fair share? And if you believe in the annexation of private property, then why are you not annexing your private property? I'm sure that he'll lead the way. And the very first thing that he'll do is give up his private Ugandan military compound. I'm sure he'll just lead the way and do so, right? So this socialist, I'm going to show you some more socialism. This man is preaching socialism. AOC is a multi-millionaire, drives around expensive cars. So is Three House Bernie, socialist, multi-millionaire, drives around in all of his sports cars and his 3 mansions. So here's another socialist for you. So, how does it make sense to anybody? How does anybody follow Bernie Sanders and AOC when they preach socialism, but they're multi-millionaires living a very, very lavish lifestyle? How does anybody follow that? Well, you follow Donald Trump. He doesn't preach socialism. He preaches capitalism and lives a capitalistic lifestyle. So Manhattan Mingle video. This was the secret Dubai engagement celebration of socialist Zohran Mamdani. Play it for me. Democrats are such freaking disingenuous liars. That's who they are. Now, I'm just thinking about this right now. Easily, right, you're talking about $250,000 that's spent on that wedding, right there, just in what we're seeing. I'm being benevolent by saying that. You're talking about, let's just make it easy, though, $250,000 wedding for a socialist. Now, Will has a daughter, I have a daughter, and everybody in here in this room is married, so we've either paid for weddings or been a part of paying for weddings. And Will and I both have a daughter, so we're going to pay for a wedding, me a lot sooner than him. So we can flat out tell you what that wedding would cost. Not everybody watching this, you already know. And this is a socialist, such Democratic Party, disingenuous hypocrisy. It's just absolutely disgusting. Go to the next for me. Laura Loomer tweet. Wesley LePatner is being named as the Blackstone executive who was shot and killed by the shooter in New York City last night. She was awarded in 2023 for her generosity to the Jewish community. The Blackstone building is one of the locations that was listed as as a globalized and intifada zone of operation by the Palestinian jihadi group within our lifetime. There it is. That's what's happening. So leave this up. So the number one contender for mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, shares the exact same faith as the shooter. That's great. This is the same group that Zohran Mamdani has been photographed protesting with. So he protests with the group that's behind the shooter. Witnesses said they heard the shooter yell, "Free Palestine." Blackstone has a Jewish CEO, and the shooter shot and killed a Jewish executive. This has nothing to do with the NFL. The shooting was another targeted attack on Jews by a pro-jihadi domestic terrorist who aligned with the Palestinian movement. Isn't that great? Let me show you this. Go to the next one for me, Will. Clay Travis video. Aaron, keep that one loaded. We're going to close with that one.
Yep.
Here is, I love how Clay Travis titled this. Look at all the left-wing people celebrating Mamdani's New York City win at his election party. Play it for me. Now, let me show you what they're actually celebrating. Let's go to the next one, Michael McCarthy video. This is what they're actually celebrating. This is what Zohran Mamdani actually believes in. Play it for me.
In one of the strangest cases I've seen recently, a British man was charged in a staged Disneyland Paris marriage with a 9-year-old girl. This man apparently was having a fake marriage to a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl who arrived in Paris 2 days beforehand. 9 years old and from Ukraine. It cost them €130,000 to rent out Disneyland from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Strange times. So the story is this was a mock wedding. But guess what? That British man is a registered sex offender. He was a convicted sexual offender who is wanted in the UK. And apparently this was all just a mock wedding between a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl who was shipped in 2 days beforehand and a British man who's a registered sex offender. And they just spent $130,000 for the fun of it. What do you think?
5 years old, 7 years, 9 years, 6 years old. These are girls already sold into marriage, many too young to even know their own ages. 8 years. They're often prompted by their guardians. 6 years. The husbands they'll go to are a decade or more older. The last to talk is 5 years old. The youngest, in her father's arms, is a 7-month-old baby given in lieu of medical bills. The girls have no say. This in one of Afghanistan's poorest villages. And the deprivation here means girls are being sold into marriage earlier and more often. There's not enough room in the tent for all the parents who want to show us their young daughters they've sold. We don't want to sell them, she says, but we're poor and we have to eat. Hajira had fetched an above-average price, more than $6,000. Then she got injured, and the deal was called off. I'd already sold her to a family, her father tells us, but they brought her back when she got injured and said they couldn't take care of her, so I never got any of the money. Now he's on the hunt for another buyer. Once final payments made for his eldest daughter, she'll be sent to her new family. She wants to study and is...
Ask Zohran Mamdani if he disavows that. On the record, ask him point blank, do you disavow that? Let's go from top to bottom here. So the first video we had there, you had $130,000 Disneyland mock wedding. So they rented out a little section of Disneyland to have a mock wedding. A mock wedding for $130,000? A mock wedding with Zohran. That sounds like that's in Zohran's budget, as the socialist that he is. You have a mock wedding for $130,000 where you have a English citizen, a British citizen, and by the way, that's how they pull off their stats in Great Britain, by the way, just so you know, because whenever you have like the rape stats, what they do with the rape stats, of course, are through the roof amongst all of the Muslims that they've imported into that country. But what they do is they don't count second generation or third generation Muslim British citizens in those stats, so it actually lowers the statistical rape data in favor of the Muslims. They don't actually count all the Muslims. And then just understand what I'm saying here. The second and third generation Muslims that are also doing many of the rapes are now considered to be white British citizens. So now those rapes are counted against white British citizens. And the only ones that are actually counted towards Muslims are first generation Muslims. The rapes, the pedophilic activity, all those things that are going on there that are through the freaking roof. You go into these countries, it's like 70% or more of the rapes are done by the Muslims that they've imported. Yes, I said the Muslims that they've imported. Don't be afraid. It's the Muslims that they are importing. You saw a $130,000 mock wedding. That's all just a giant cover story. That's just a lie. It's not a mock wedding at all. And he's marrying a 9-year-old. This Jackie Jall is his name, this British citizen. He's marrying a 9-year-old. Aaron and I were just discussing this because that's who Muhammad married. He married a 6-year-old and consummated at 9. That's your prophet. Have Zohran Mamdani disavow that, please. I want him to say out loud, do you call Muhammad a pedophile because he married a 6-year-old and had sex with her when she was 9? How many of you have had daughters that are 6 and 9? Married at 6, and you got a 50-year-old man having sex with her at 9, and then you just saw the room full of men and women selling their daughters to elderly men for them to consummate their relationships with at 9, because they're all following Muhammad, that wonderful, awesome religion, the demonic, demon-based religion of Islam. And that's who Zohran Mamdani is. Have him disavow any of it. Ask him, was it wrong? Was it wrong for Muhammad to marry a 6-year-old and have sex with her at 9? Was that wrong, Zohran? Was it wrong? Is it wrong for your brethren there in Afghanistan to be selling their daughters into sexual enslavement for the rest of their lives? Is that wrong, Zohran? In your little magnanimous voice, pretending like you have any measure of intelligence, any measure of Americanized values? No. Ask him. Do you disavow those things? He won't do it. He'll do the Potomac two-step and start answering questions that you did not ask. He'll give you answers to questions that you did not ask. All right, got to show you this just for a fun little closing. Just got to show it to you because this is the video that I was talking about. Find where these women actually experience Disneyland outside of the food. Play it for me.
Hey everyone, we're plus-size park hoppers, and this is everything we ate in a day as plus-size best friends at Disney's Magic Kingdom. We started our day by having lunch at the Plaza restaurant on Main Street. We find that the food tastes better than any of the quick service options available at Magic Kingdom, and it's pretty affordable too. Katie started off with the Plaza loaded fries, which can be made gluten-free. These come with melted cheddar, bacon, green onion, and spicy sour cream. Ashley and I both got the triple-decker turkey club sandwich. This sandwich is really good, and it's our go-to every time we go. We also thought that the portion was pretty big for the price. Katie got the Chipotle barbecue pork sandwich with a gluten-free bun. And for dessert, she had a strawberry milkshake. Later on that day, Katie got the Aurora cone, but without a cone to make it gluten-free from Storybook Treats. And Ashley and I split the candied bacon skewer from Westward Ho. This was the perfect combination of salty and sweet, and also who doesn't love a snack on a stick? Before we left the park, we were thirsty for ice cream, so Katie headed over to Aloha Isle and got the coconut pineapple Dole Whip. Then Ashley and I headed over to the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. We each got the All-American Sundae, which is one of our favorite sweet treats in Magic Kingdom. If you're a fan of chocolate and peanut butter, then this is the ice cream for you. When we got back to Saratoga Springs, we headed to the Artist Palette for dinner. Ashley and I both got the shrimp with green beans and mashed potatoes, which was pretty good for a quick service dinner. Katie got the chicken and rice bowl, but we accidentally forgot to record it. And then we ended our night in the hot tub.
Everybody hear that? So they started off their day having lunch. Then they had a milkshake. Then they had candied bacon. Then they had an ice cream sundae. Then they went to dinner. I mean, it's unbelievable. Where was the park? There's no rides. They didn't ride any rides. You can't fit on any of them. But I'm like, where? You didn't even experience the park. They just went from one restaurant to the next. Unbelievable.
They think that park is just restaurants.
I guess
There's no rides.
There's no rides. I mean, there's rides there and log flumes and pools and water slides and all sorts of stuff you can do outside of eat. But anyway. All right, Rumble Rants tonight. Nate Dad won $20. Thank you so much, Nate Dad won. Appreciate you. Thanks everybody in the chat. Love you guys. Stick around for the post game. It's awesome as always. Back here tomorrow night, 9:00. God bless you. Most American Christians are choked with cares, riches, and pleasure. They don't ever mature. Ask yourself, when was the last time you brought somebody to church? Now the ones that fell among the thorns are those who, when they have heard, go out and are choked with cares, riches, and pleasures of life, and bring no fruit to maturity. That right there is most every Christian in America, including me. But I'm breaking my chains. Things have changed for me. I invite you to come with me.
Fear shows up in all of us, in the waiting, in the change, and the unknown. But we weren't created to live afraid. Join us August 21st through the 23rd for the Beloved Ladies Conference. Fearless. It's time to face what's been holding you back and walk out free.
Thanks for watching the Tom Laipply podcast. We appreciate your support. As a special thank you, when you donate $25 or more, you will get a free TLP koozie. Enjoy your favorite cold drink while tuning in to our latest takes on current events. Your support keeps us going. Donate now to claim yours.
Since we're talking about this police chief, can I just ask, are there any male police chiefs left in this country? I mean, we've covered several stories this year where we play a clip of a law enforcement press conference. Unfortunately, there are things happening frequently that necessitate police press conferences, law enforcement press conferences. And maybe you've noticed this pattern too. It's like it's a female police chief in all of them. You know, we've had stories down in New Orleans, female police chief, Washington, D.C., female police chief. Even right now there are two major stories happening, and a female police chief or commissioner is in both. There's a situation in Cincinnati, and there's also the mass shooting in New York City last night. Female police commissioner there. Austin, Texas has a female police chief. So does Memphis. So does Chattanooga. In fact, did you know this? And I looked this up. There are three, well, this part I already knew. There are three major cities in Ohio, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. They're like smaller cities too, but those are the three biggest cities in Ohio. All of them, all three of them have a female police chief. And how does that happen? Does it really happen because it just so happens that in every major city in the state, the most qualified leader of a police force happened to be an old woman? Really? Old, out-of-shape women are, yeah, just so happens. Every major city in this state just so happens this is the most qualified person. Does anyone believe that? Does anyone believe that?
If anyone from American Eagle who was involved in the creation of Sydney Sweeney's most recent advertisement booked into my Pilates class, I would give them the hardest exercise class that I was capable of doing on the lightest possible spring load with 0 breath cues. And I would make it the toughest exercise class that they'd ever experienced in their lives.
Oh! Look at that big mud streak. Oh my god. Ready? Oh! Oh! Your sister said bye. Oh, you okay? Come here. Oh! Ow. Wait.
The idea that no person is above the law is a bedrock principle of American justice.
No man is above the law, no matter what the crime.
And I agree with you. No man is above the law. No person is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
He has to be held accountable. He's not above the law.
No one's above the law. Either that nor any other title puts you above the rule of law.
No one is truly above the law.
That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what it means to not have a king.
They're not above the law.
Nobody is above the law. Everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally.
Well, that no one is above the law, which is foundational.
No one is above the law, even a former president.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
No one is above the law.
The law is the law, and no one should be above it.
Yes, nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one else is above the law, including a president.
Nobody is above the law. You can't have two justice systems in America. It has to be one justice system. And anybody who breaks the law should be held accountable.
And that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law, and our president is not above the law. I always thought that this country, that no one was above the law, especially
You have an emergency, any kind of emergency. You get on the phone with 911. You need to send the cops out. Let's imagine a scenario where they give you a choice. They don't give you any other information, just generically. You can have a female cop or a male cop come. You get no other information about them. Who are you choosing? 100 times out of 100, you're saying, yes, send the male cop. Unless you want to step up and say, no, I'd ask for the female cop. Because if you say that, then you're either lying or you're insane. So these are things that we all know, and yet you've got people who still insist on denying it. But fortunately, I think there's an increasing number of people who are just done with that. Just done with it. Just done with playing pretending that we don't know what we all know. Pretending like every person in the country knows you have an emergency. You'd prefer for male cops to show up. You see the press conference after something bad is happening. You see the press conference. You feel a lot better when you see the male police chief over the female. You see that woman, this out of shape old woman, looks like a librarian standing up there. That does not inspire confidence in anyone. And we all know that. The only difference is that there are some of us who are willing to say there's everybody else who's still playing pretend, still playing the game. And if you're still playing the game, I just got no use for you. I got no